Madeline Klein, I worried about you during this episode. Good God.
It's I rewatched it again today, and yeah, there were some parts that made me nauseous.
It pushed the limits. We talked about this last week. We're doing these recaps and discussions with you as a. How many years pregnant are you at this point?
29 weeks,
What's that in months?
7 months.
Okay, 7 months.
It's so weird to say.
It is a. Well, I don't think this show was written with a 7 month pregnant person in mind as the target audience. In the last episode, when we did the last episode, as I was watching it, I was like, "Ooh, I hope Madeline's okay." You're all right. Watching this
Yes.
one, I was like, "Madeline's probably not okay."
There were a few times I was just like, "Oh my God." Oh, and I get anxious watching these kind of shows anyway, pregnant or not,
Mhm.
but yeah, being pregnant and watching this one is especially it's
Well,
different.
the reason I say that though is like the scares and stuff. It's not like a horror movie or something. It's these are specifically like it seems like this show is playing on the anxieties and stresses of like a pregnant woman or something. Like it's the stuff it gets
Yes.
into, especially in this episode.
I'm just glad I'm as far along as I am because if I was maybe super early on, I'd be a little bit more like, "Ooh, maybe this isn't for me right
Yeah,
now."
right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting
Or
through
if
it.
I was doing IVF, I'd be like, "Absolutely not.
Uh,
No."
and you're in like this creepy clinic, and we're
Yeah.
rich and being
Ugh.
stalked.
There's so many layers.
Yeah, she has a lot going on. You want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good.
I've been looking very forward to this
Me
because
too.
there's a
That's
lot to
why
cover.
we usually will chat our faces off before we start. But no, I've been wanting to get into this for a while. We're going to be talking about episode 2 of season 12 of American Horror Story. The season is titled Delicate. The episode is titled Rockabye. I wonder if all the episodes are going to have these weird kind of baby referencing things. Last week
Oh, they got to.
it was Multiply Thy Pain, which the episode title from last week came from that like Bible quote it mentioned at the beginning.
Hmm.
This episode, Rockabye, I don't. Maybe as we talk through it, we'll figure out where that name comes from. But
Well,
it's
it's a lullaby. Rockabye Baby.
yeah. But what does the lullaby really have to do with the episode?
Siobhan sings it to her.
Oh, that's right. See,
Yeah.
I would have figured it out as we went, but fine. Tell me right off the bat. Um,
And yeah, I think we'll get there, but I don't know if like a line of the song has anything to do with what happens, but we'll get there.
okay. So this episode picks up directly after the end of episode 1. Episode 1 ends with um, Anna waking up from a sleep. The intruder's in her house. She chases the intruder, finds the photo of the fertilized embryos covered in lipstick, which in the cold open last week we thought was blood. That's how
And ripped in
episode
half.
in ripped in half. That's right. That's how episode 1 ends. Episode 2 begins with police investigators at Anna's house showing her the security camera footage of people coming and going from the building to see if there was an intruder. The only person seen coming or going was her husband Dex. If I remember correctly, he ran out for like 15 minutes or something because he had to grab something. I don't remember what it was, maybe milk or something.
He was gone for 17 minutes from 11:02
Oh my god,
and to go get dog food.
dog food.
Yeah. He was like,
That's
"Yeah, I was just like laying in bed and then our dog started whining and I realized I hadn't fed him yet and we had no dog food." And this all sounds really weird to me. Like as a pet owner, you don't just forget to feed your dog.
And it's a dog. It's
Um,
like if you got to get feed it something in the middle of the night, it's like he can only eat dog food. You just open the fridge. A dog will eat anything, right?
right? And
He,
like, where are you going in 17 minutes? Do you like, I'm pretty sure they live in Los Angeles. You're not doing anything in 17 minutes
yeah, good
in Los
point.
Angeles. And yeah, I was just like, it's just kind of weird to me.
We're
Also, the investigators were like, yeah, from the only thing we just see your husband leave and come back, and then the next people to enter the doors is us. And I'm like, okay, well, watch more security footage then. They had to have entered the building somehow, and there's probably not only one exit.
Yeah,
Like,
good point. Dex, if we're watching you, but whether or not he's gone for 17 minutes, he comes home. According to his narrative, he comes home from getting dog food at the point that Anna. Or actually, I'll back it up a bit. Dex's story is that she was asleep. The dog woke him up. He leaves the house. At the point he comes back, she's already on the phone calling 911. So when he left, everything was normal. Minutes later, he came back after all hell had broken loose. So whatever happened, happened fast. But investigators, they seem to be not so suspicious of Dex. I think they're asking some questions to Anna and maybe considering, what's up with her. For one, they're asking her, why did you have the lipstick on your hands? And that was a good point.
it's a good question. And she said like, oh, like it's all a blur. But I'm trying to think of, yeah. Would the intruder have
Rubbed it on her hands while
not
she
rubbed it on
slept.
her hands, but like maybe did something? Oh, didn't the intruder use it to write that message on the mirror?
Uh huh.
And then they had to have ripped the photo at one point.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering, yeah, how did the lipstick come into play?
Well, and why was it on Anna's hands?
Right.
If she didn't rub it all over the floor, rip the picture right on the mirror, why did she have it on her hands? So that's what police are questioning, and they also question the medication she's on. They notice the suppositories in the fridge or on the counter or whatever it was at this point. It's like, you're on medicine, like, so they're
And I thought it
suspicious.
was weird that they were on the counter again. They specifically say we found these on the counter and they should be in the fridge.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
just giving a tip of the hat to everyone who's paying close attention in episode one, like in the calling back like
yeah.
that. But
Well, and
some,
also another thing
mhm,
is the investigators ask her like, "Do you think this could have been someone you know like playing a prank because your dog didn't make a peep?"
mhm.
I didn't know they had a dog until this
I
episode,
don't think we
but
saw the dog, did we?
I don't recall it. He's cute. I feel like I remember the dog.
Yeah. I bet you
But
if you watched episode one again, maybe you'd see something in the background. Or I can't
like
imagine the
walking him or something.
yeah, or even just a dog bowl or something. Why would they? Like the writers are smart enough to, you know,
Yeah.
drop that stuff. But anyway, that's how this episode begins. From there, we see a sort of like, I don't know if it's a dreamlike kind of state, but there's just this kind of one scene where Anna sees someone holding or walking a baby, and the baby kind of has a look reminiscent of the smoking woman in black that is one of the maybe stalkers that Anna's
Well,
dealing with.
she sees the woman first and then like looks back and then it's a baby that looks like her.
Yeah, it's a really but is it a dream? Like, what is that? Or,
I don't know. I'm very confused as to whether she's seeing what she's seeing or whether she's like losing time throughout a lot of this. It's yeah,
well,
it's
she's
very,
definitely
very
losing.
odd.
She's definitely losing time as we get into it. I think what the filmmakers and writers are trying to get at this point is they're trying to. I suspect that they're trying to get across the amount of stress that she's going on, that she's overcome with, as being this kind of disorienting mess, and she's starting to feel disconnected from life and society and everyone around her because of the stress she's under. That's kind of what I'm getting from some of this. But let's get into it. We know Anna's going through a lot. She's stressed out. The people in her life know this. People in her life know that she has maybe a stalker. They know that she is uh, in the middle of going through IVF. It seems like a really weird time to throw a surprise party. But that's what they seem to do. She shows up at her publicist Siobhan's house, or office. It's kind of hard to
Office.
tell. Office, to a sort of surprise party, um, which is a crowd of people are getting ready for her award show, the Gotham Awards, and is that a made up thing? It must be, right? I've
I
never.
I meant to Google it because I've never heard of it before.
Mhm.
Um, the Oscars are obviously very real, but I
Yeah.
was wondering if the Gotham Awards or something, because
If
they threw her the party because she was nominated.
mhm,
And in the show, it sounds like a big deal.
mhm.
So I feel like one of us would have heard of this
It
award show
must
at
have.
one point.
But also in the show, if the Gotham Awards aren't real, they're clearly a like a step down from the Oscars, and this seems to be this
Right.
kind of like minor league award that if you get this, that may put you in Oscar contention, and it seems like
Totally.
that's what she's rooting for, and that's a part of the scene is Siobhan, her publicist, has the sort of like come to Jesus speech with Anna. Like, you got to pull it together. Like, you got to just put your head down and grind. You're an, I think one of her lines is like, you're an athlete from now on. Like, until we get to the Oscars, you got to just, grin and bear it, get through it until we got your Oscar. Then you can, check out.
I loved Siobhan's pep talk. That was it was funny,
Mm-hmm.
but and motivating at the same time,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I'll say it again. Kim Kardashian surprised me in the first
Mhm.
episode. She did awesome in this episode as well. She's a good actress.
She is.
Yeah.
I thought she did even better in this episode. There's a couple scenes that I was like, people are not going to give her the credit for this
Hmm.
just because she's Kim K.
Well, people like
But
to
yeah,
hate.
oh, totally. But yeah, no, I was very impressed with quite a few scenes of hers. I was like,
Mhm.
she truly is a multi-talent.
Yeah, and a lot of f bombs. Her character. I don't
Yep.
know if it's her as a person or her character, but every sentence is an f bomb.
Oh yeah. I think that's a business person thing. And I
Maybe.
think it's really real.
Hmm.
I'll bet you lots. I bet her character is like spot on to many business women.
I'm sure. Um, after this kind of come to Jesus speech, pep talk, whatever we want to call it, Siobhan does something that I don't think many business people or publicists do. Is she gives Anna um, a a collection of vials of what she says is vitamin B12, and they're in this little case. To me, it looks like a bunch of glass bottles of blood because it looks like
That's what I thought too.
it's deep red. Um, I should also mention, I don't know how to introduce this or how we can follow the development of this through the episode, but Anna has a pimple on
Yes.
the right side of her jaw, I guess, or right side of her chin, and it's around this scene where I first started noticing it, and I almost thought like, does the actress actually have a pimple, and maybe the makeup's not doing its thing to hide it? But as the episode goes on, we see kind of this pimple develop a little bit, but
Yeah. I noticed
yeah.
that too. I was like, huh.
I don't know what they were trying to tell us with it, but it's around this scene, I think, is where we're first supposed to notice, like, oh, she has a pimple and she's getting this
Yeah.
vitamin B12 shot. Uh, she does the shot of vitamin B12, drinking what looks like blood. From there, we go into the intro.
And it does not look medicinal in the least.
Mm-mm,
Like
mm-mm.
it doesn't look like anything your doctor would give you or that you would buy in the vitamin aisle.
No,
Like,
or anywhere. It's literally like it's like a little box with almost like a little suede liner in six. Well, I don't know if it was six, but like four or six little glass unmarked vials of blood.
yes, it's like, oh,
It's vitamin B12 shots. Yeah, and Anna's like, "Is it all right for pregnancy?" And Siobhan's like, "You can trust me."
yeah, I would never do anything to hurt you or something
Yeah,
like that. Would I do anything to hurt you? And then
yeah.
the end of that scene, Siobhan grabs her hand and says, together we're going to give you the life of your dreams.
Mm,
So does that mean, what does that mean? Like, does that mean her career or is she talking about the baby?
mm-hmm.
You know? So
Hmm.
a little bit of
Um,
foreshadowing, probably.
well, I think everything Siobhan says at this point is going to make it, like at this point in the season, is going to make a lot more sense later.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I can tell that it's written in a way that she's dropping hints and foreshadowing for sure. We see our intro. From the intro, we get into a scene of grossness. We have Anna in the bathroom, of course, feeling sick, puking up blood is what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, the vitamin B12 stuff is what she's puking up. It's like a thick red. Like, is it supposed to B blood, or is it different?
I don't know. I can't decide. I think obviously we're going to circle back to whatever is, I don't think it's actually B12
Mm.
because I, as a pregnant woman, am taking B12 and it's a tiny little capsule that dissolves under my tongue.
And it's not like this thick, red, oily
Absolutely not.
liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever Siobhan gave her, she's puking it up. But once she's done puking, she stands up and she's just kind of like, huh. She seems fine afterwards. It's almost like, I guess I've been there before where you get sick and then afterwards you're like, oh, I needed that.
Um, I thought she was a very graceful puker. She like pukes, spits, and gets up and is on her way. And I was like, I would be down for the count.
Hmm.
Like I'd have to like sit there and collect myself. Like,
No,
she
she
just
was,
gets up and is like, well,
well,
mind you, because that's a good sign.
yeah,
She
because
doesn't at this point she's just had the embryo transfer. So
that's right.
it's we don't know if it's taken or if you
Yeah,
will,
so I think, yeah, that's probably important.
implanted.
Is she hasn't been able to get pregnant. She's now in the morning, we can assume, puking. Maybe that's a sign of the pregnancy taking. Um, she gets up from puking, and one of her first things she does is she calls the IVF clinic to let them know what's going on, that she's puking. She has a weird little exchange with the receptionist or assistant before she talks to her doctor, but I think this is relevant because it relates to Mrs. Preacher. She says to the receptionist says, like, knows that she has a stalker. Like, oh, I heard what happened, or whatever. Um, Anna was
No,
surprised.
she just mentions the stalker, and Anna's like, "How do you know that?"
Hmm.
And she was like, "You told me yesterday when you called. Don't you remember?"
Mm.
So I don't know if she's losing time or being gaslit or what,
Mhm.
but
I think
the
she's
receptionist
certainly being
says,
gaslit.
"Yeah,
Mhm. She also asks about Miss Preacher. She asks the receptionist, like, what's the story with that girl? The receptionist says she's harmless. She is like an she's ideologically motivated to attack or to give us a hard time. She thinks that IVF is like murder. So that's her.
which is bizarre to me. How? It's literally the opposite.
Yeah, good point.
Like,
But
yeah,
uh,
but lots of I,
there's a lot of
maybe religious
strong.
people.
Well, I think anything to do with babies, pregnancy, all that stuff is just so sensitive that there's people who are going to think all sorts of things.
Yeah. They're
S-
like, "Oh, what God's way, you're playing God." And
Yeah,
some
who
people.
who knows? But it would be,
Yeah.
it's enough that when the receptionist says that to Anna, she's okay with it.
Yeah.
It
She's like,
it
"Okay."
Yeah, and again when just thinking back to the last episode when she found Miss Preacher's Instagram or Reddit account.
Something like that. Or was it just the comments on? Oh no, I think it was maybe Reddit. I don't know. Regardless,
Yeah,
she
but
found something online.
it was all like kind of posts about witches in Hollywood are doing this stuff with babies, so it kind of makes sense. Like
Yeah,
that's enough of an explanation, I think, that she'd buy it.
totally.
Anyways, Anna gets on the phone with her doctor after talking to the receptionist. Explains, I've been puking. Should I take a test? And the doctor's like, no, 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 far too early. Wait, I think he said like 11 more days or whatever it is before
Yeah,
you even test. All that's important now, don't be stressed out. Just relax. Wait a little while.
yeah. 14 days after the transfer, you can test,
Um,
which was 11 days.
yeah.
Your memory serves.
I skipped ahead a little bit. I mentioned the Insta post. That oh yeah, no, sorry. That was last week's. Sorry, I'm mixing up the next scene with the whole like finding the Miss Preacher post on Instagram. Cuz the next thing, one sec. Yeah, this I am mixing up. Sorry. So the next scene after this is Anna's on Instagram, sees a post about her award nomination, and finds a comment on that post by an account that has like Preacher in the name. The comment said, Watch out, Anna. So that's just a comment on an Instagram post about her award nomination. When she clicks on the account that had Preacher in the name that stood out to her, she finds an account that's basically nothing on it with the exception of one photo, and it's a photo that was the one Miss Preacher took showing Anna leaving the IVF clinic. We saw her take that photo in episode 1. From that photo, she digs a bit deeper into what is likely Miss Preacher's account, and that's what leads her to the kind of Reddit pages or whatever that's all this stuff about like witches in Hollywood and just kind of crazy conspiracy stuff.
Right. She definitely did have some sort of online presence last episode, though.
Yeah.
You're not totally crazy.
Okay. As that is happening, Dex approaches her from behind. And I should say at this scene, she's in the kitchen chopping up vegetables or something. Dex approaches her from behind, Dexter. She is so worked up about what she found, he puts his hands on like her shoulders to be like, hey, hon. And she turns around and very quickly with a knife stabs at his face.
That's one hell of a reflex.
Well, you got to watch yourself, especially when you're expecting a baby. You're looking after...
And I think he put one hand on her belly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And as we will see throughout this episode, she is not cool with people doing that.
No. Well, and I should rewatch the first episode because I'm sure that when the intruder is in her house, when she's laying in bed, because it's the first scene, you see a hand like come and feel her stomach, and you would automatically assume that it's her husband. I'm sure I saw that. So like the intruder like also touched her belly when they were intruding, which is friggin' weird. Yeah,
it is. So she turns, as we just mentioned there, he turns around. She turns around. She swings the knife at him, nicks his face. He has a little cut here. She apologizes afterwards, and he asks her to take a pregnancy test. And as you're watching the show, it seems like this is all later that day that she called her doctor. Even at one point where she's chopping her vegetables, there's like a little calendar next to her with, I think she has the day circled of like when I can do my pregnancy test is circled. So you can see that it's whatever, 14 or 11 days away or whatever it was. Dex asks her to take a pregnancy test, and she's like, no, like I talked to the doctor. We need to wait, the 2 weeks. And he's like, yeah, it's today. And then she looks at the calendar that we had just seen, and now all the days are blanked out. So it's obvious that, there's some missing time, kind of like something happened, all that time passed. And we as the viewer seem to think she knows nothing about what went on in her life over the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Which
but
I
also
can relate to.
For a TV show about pregnancy, you kind of got to get the ball rolling. You can't film for 9 months.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe that's a storytelling device if you're telling it. Yeah. So they do the test with a very futuristic pregnancy test.
I was gonna say, I've never seen a pregnancy test that looks like this before.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, is like, did a lot change since I had my last kid? Because it looks like it was all electronic. It looked like it was something that you would need to charge with USB before you can do the pregnancy test or something.
Yes.
So she does her thing, and then it just like it beeps, and does it say positive, or it shows a check mark and a green light or something?
I think it shows a plus sign. That's it.
Plus sign. Okay, but this is certainly the pregnancy test for the stars.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
considering like mine wasn't even one of the plastic ones. It was just like mind you, I bought like a box of 25 off Amazon, so they were just like the little strips.
How many did you have to use?
One.
Oh, okay. So what did you do with the other 24?
I gave them to my friend who's trying to have a baby. He's like, here.
Okay.
Well, I think I used a couple more just to make sure. I'm like, yeah, these are all positive.
Yeah, it's still pregnant.
It's still pregnant, yeah.
As they're looking at the result of the pregnancy test, they're having their moment, like, we did this, it's happening. Dex's phone rings, and it's Sonia. And Anna's like, what is she calling you for? He's like, oh, we're working on something. And he has to decide, like, do I answer this call and leave this moment, or do I dodge the call and,
do I screw this moment up, this once in a lifetime moment?
He screws it up.
He sure does.
Yeah, he has to take the call. They've been playing telephone tag, and they're working on something. So he leaves Anna to celebrate the pregnancy alone as he goes and takes the call with Sonia.
And I mean, like, why do you have to step out of the room to take this stupid call? Like, just take it, make it quick, and then we can continue,
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
in my
Uh,
opinion.
the next scene that we have is them at Dr. Hill's clinic, which is the IVF clinic. They do the first ultrasound. They see, like, it's so early in the pregnancy, all they're really able to see is just a little something with a beating heartbeat, or with a beating heart. So enough to
Yeah.
know, like, yeah, you're good. Just, take care of yourself. We'll check in with you again soon. Avoid stress. Not really much happens in this scene. It's just basically we just get brought back to Dr. Hill's clinic to for the first ultrasound of the episode.
Pretty much. And he just like, yeah, firmly and sternly tells her to stay like not to stress, which is much easier said than done.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of hard to give that advice. Don't stress yourself out. It's like
yeah,
it's
right.
stress. It is or it
Also,
isn't.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I should have looked this up, but it's like the embryo is so small at this stage. I'm I don't think they could see a heartbeat at that point, even if
That's
you look super close.
Well, I wonder if it's different because they would have fertilized it outside. Like how much time from when they fertilized it? Well,
Oh,
that's probably only a week or something, wasn't it? Because remember, he took
yeah.
the eggs, and then it's like we are going to meet Thursday. We saw this in the last episode. She had to delay it slightly because of that TV appearance.
Right.
So really, it's probably only been fertilized for 3 4 weeks.
Like this thing still probably has a tail. Like
Yeah, but maybe
I
just
was like, but
like
it's also a show, so
yeah. And again, this is the clinic for the stars. This is like the best of the
that's true.
best.
Yeah,
So if anyone can see it, it's Dr. Hill and the
that's yep.
geniuses at his clinic. Um, Next scene, we're back with your girl, Kim Kardashian. We're at Siobhan's place. We're picking out dresses for Anna to wear to the Gotham Awards. And my goodness, she looks gorgeous. And finds a gorgeous dress.
She does. This is, and I don't know if this is like a hat tip to Kim wearing Marilyn Monroe's old dress at a
Controversially, too, right?
very controversially. And I was like, a lot of losers coming out of the woodwork that suddenly care about
An
like
old
old
dress.
garments.
Yeah, Kim,
Like
just for people who don't know, that don't follow the Kim Kardashian news, of all the things I know about her, this is one. She went to an award show and she wore a dress that was famous for being worn by Marilyn Monroe, but Kim Kardashian is much more curvaceous than Marilyn Monroe. So it's this like, 40-year-old dress that Kim Kardashian is like squishing all her stuff into.
well,
So,
it didn't even fit her. That's why she had to like the back was I think open, so she had to put on like a fur shawl
oh,
to cover the
really?
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like
But
that.
she had it
But
all stretched out in all these different ways and stuff, and there was a lot of controversy. People all of a sudden, like you said, were like archivists of Marilyn Monroe fashion.
yeah, I'm like, you didn't care about this yesterday. So, like, maybe
People,
if she was wearing Jackie O's blazer that she was wearing during the assassination, fine. Be a little outraged.
yeah, people
But it's
just
a
hate.
dress of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, well, like everything else, though, people were only mad for about 25 minutes, and then the internet moved
Yep,
on to some other horrible thing that happened. Um,
exactly.
so maybe this scene was a bit of a tip of the hat to that, but the dress they pick out for Anna was one that Madonna had worn. I don't know if this is if something that actually happened. They mentioned the award ceremony that Madonna was at. I would
The
like to.
91 Oscars.
Yeah, I wonder. We should look it up and see. Like, is that the dress? Like,
We should.
who
I'm
knows?
surprised I didn't.
Yeah. Um, they're looking in the mirror together. Actually, no. This I said they're at Siobhan's. They're at Anna's clearly because when they're in the bathroom trying on the mirror, the writing with the lipstick from episode 1 is still there, and Anna's like, I couldn't wash it off. Just forget, ignore it, which is not something you would do, I don't think. For
No.
But they're looking in the mirror together, Anna wearing Madonna's white dress from the awards show and whatever year you said there. And they start singing a song that I know a lot of Madonna, but I didn't recognize this song. But I looking online, it was in fact a Madonna song.
And it's the song that she sang at the 1991 Oscars.
Okay.
I just Googled Madonna 1991 Oscars, and not only is that the same dress or very similar, but that's the song that she performed.
What is the name of the song? Do you see it
Sooner
there?
or Later.
I don't know that song. Maybe that's
I'm not familiar with
okay.
it.
Um, they're
I'm not a
look
huge Madge fan, but
no.
I know the hits.
Well, this scene, I don't think I don't know if this is what they were trying to tell us, but they Anna and Siobhan are singing that song in the mirror. I find it very cringy, and they're not singing very well. And I don't know if that's what broke the mirror or if there was some kind of supernatural force at play, but the mirror shatters as they're standing in front of it, which is pretty freaky.
And scares the hell out of them.
Yeah, it
This
scared
is
me actually.
as kind
It
of
jumped out.
cringe as it was. This is one of the scenes that like actually really impressed me with Kim.
Hmm.
Her voice isn't she's not totally off key.
You are such
She's
a stand for Kim Kardashian. She's an
I know.
amazing actress. She can sing. She looked amazing, and no one cared about the dress anyway.
That's correct. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, oh, like I mean, if she put out an album, I'd be like, okay, Kim, let's relax here. But yeah, no, she's not awful. She also Madonna was her neighbor growing up
Really
in real life. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That scene, like just hearing people sing along, it's like that on TV or whenever I'm watching a movie or something and people are supposed to be like singing and dancing. I just find that always so fake and insincere and really cringy. This wasn't as bad as some of those scenes that I've seen like that. It was
Well,
okay.
it was short-lived.
Yeah, it only lasted a second and the mirror
Yeah. They only
shattered.
did a couple lines.
Um, yeah, I just have to tell one quick story. Yesterday, before I watched the episode, I was listening to this old radio show. I'm driving in my car. I'm listening to this old radio show from like the 90s. And it's this call-in talk radio thing that I listen to all the time. And the guest on the show was Willie Nelson, who's like the country singer. And at one part of near the end of the show, they just opened the phone line so people could call in and ask Willie Nelson a question. And one of the callers was this little old lady, and she's like, "I've always loved your music, and I've always wanted to sing Amazing Grace with you. Will you do a few bars with me, Willie?" And he's like, "Sure. You go ahead and start it." She's like, "Oh, amazing." And so they're all through phones. Amazing Grace. And then he's like in the radio station into his mic, like, "Oh, sweet." And then and they went on for so long and it was so cringy, but at the same time, it was a really nice moment for her. I think she
They
started
went
to
on
cry
for
at first.
so long.
Yeah. Anyway, this I had heard that earlier in the day that I watched this episode, and I'm like, this kind of crap is following me today.
Sing-alongs. Well, I'm trying to think if I've ever like been getting ready with my friends and just broke out to song and dance.
Well, but it's natural. It's different when you're like, all right, like quiet on the set. All right, Madeline and friends start dancing and singing as if you're
I
partying.
guess. Yeah, and like no music prompted it. Like, yeah, I'm just like, I don't think I've ever done that.
No,
I don't think I've ever just broken out into song.
no. The next scene is where things are really gonna start heating up. This whole next segment of the show was amazing. I was on the edge of my seat for all of it. If American Horror Story season 12 Delicate has any other moments better than this scene or this next kind of section of the episode, then I don't know, we're in for a ride. But what we're going to see now is the Gotham Awards. The next scene is when Anna actually arriving to the awards and walking down a sort of red carpet. She looks amazing. People are taking her picture, trying to ask her questions. But very,
You know, the red carpet deal. That's
yeah,
yeah,
doing
normal.
what happens on there. But what isn't normal is she kind of gets the scene stolen from her a little bit. She gets upstaged by a younger actress that is in the same category, that's nominated in the same category that Anna's nominated in.
That's right. She's got a funny name, Babette.
Babette.
Yeah. I was like, did I hear that right? But yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
But they make a point of really leaning on the fact that Babette is much younger than Anna. Like Anna's kind of like the old guard to Babette, and it's I don't know if it's supposed to make her feel old and a little like.
Which, like, she was only born in 1988. The Her birthday was on the ultrasound,
Oh really?
and like, it's not like she's ancient. Like,
I hope not.
no,
Well, but if she's born in '88 and this other Babette starlet's 19 years old or something,
true.
it's almost half her age.
To the young starlet, she is ancient.
Yeah, exactly. So the young actress kind of steals a little bit of the spotlight, but they have a moment. They get some photos taken together. Seems all good.
When she asks her, she's like, "Well, I love your dress. Where's it from?" She's like, "Oh, it's archival. Madonna wore it at the '91 Oscars." And she's like, "I'll have to YouTube it. I wasn't born yet."
Which is such like a younger person thing to say.
Yeah,
You'll have to YouTube it. Like that was some great writing.
totally. Well, and then the photographer was like, can we get a photo of you two together? Generations colliding, like as if they are so far apart.
Yeah, they're
God.
just beating it over its head, that
Yeah, she's
concept.
just like, okay.
Um, Next, we see inside the award show. The way it's set up is like everyone has individual tables of like 4 or 5 people. It almost looks like a restaurant scene or something. There's just a bunch of tables
Mhm.
with little groups of people. Anna's at a table with her husband Dex, Siobhan, and then there's this like I don't know who the other guy is. This kind of I in my notes I have him referred to as the chubby prick. Um,
I think he was the director of the film
oh,
that
was he?
Anna had starred in.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. And he is not very sensitive with her. He hears the he knew the story of her having a stalker or someone intrude into her home, and he just keeps talking about it and keeps bringing it up to the point that she even like kind of snaps at him.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of tact, that's for sure.
No, he
So,
comes across as like a bit of a prick, and
and you can tell Siobhan does not like him.
mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah.
And much like in the first episode of this season, this exchange ends with Anna being like "F this" and getting up and going to the bathroom, which again, like it's something just like what happened in episode 1. Uh,
Yeah.
in this
I
case,
never made that connection.
well, it's like the exact same kind of idea. She goes into the bathroom. The timing is weird. We don't really know this when she first walks in there, but her category is about to be announced that she's nominated for. She goes into the bathroom. She's looking at herself in the mirror, just kind of pulling herself together. She doesn't want to be agitated from that director being an idiot to her, because she may have to go on stage and say a few words. So I think she's just trying to, get herself together, pep herself up,
Collect herself.
collect herself. Yeah, she's looking in the mirror, and that pimple that I mentioned earlier, it's like a little bigger, and you can tell she has makeup over it, and she's kind of like checking it out, and she's just not really looking awesome. She's just looking a little like, I don't know, tired or something, I guess is maybe what they're trying to get across. But it only gets worse because a fan, a really weird lady who's an amazing actress, whoever this is, walks into the bathroom and is like, "Oh my God, Anna, I'm like, I love you. Like, I'm such a huge fan." And just it starts gushing over her and getting very close to Anna.
She's like the definition, the epitome of a crazed fan. Like
Mhm.
she was just like weird and awkward and yeah, just like crazy.
And yeah, everything about it was she was just acting a fool. Anna was kind of being nice to her, trying to, but she kept getting kind of closer and it just getting more and more in Anna's face. And then Anna, it takes a turn. She starts to feel sick. She runs into a stall, just like earlier in the episode. She starts puking or gagging, kind of like a bit of that bloody gunk is coming out of her. The crazed fan, I think what she wants to do is what I thought she wanted to do is maybe help Anna by pulling her hair out of like away from her face, maybe while she
And
was
I think that's
puking.
what she did with one hand.
Yeah,
I
with
think that's where her first hand went.
one hand went to helping her keep the hair out of her face. The other hand, though, reached around and like touched her belly.
Which is like so weird. Even if they knew each other, so weird. I have held a lot of my girlfriend's hairs back. I have never embraced them like that.
Well, this crazed fan would have no reason to know Anna's pregnant. So already I'm like, okay, this fan's involved in something. There's more to it. She touches her belly. Anna jumps up and kind of pushes her back to get her away. I don't know if she like turns around and pushes her or just kind of pushes her back into the fan who touched her belly, which leads to the fan falling backwards, losing balance, and cracking her head off the ceramic sink.
Oh no, it was pretty she turned around and like gave her a good shove and
Oh,
she
was it?
yelled like don't touch my belly
That's right.
or my baby, don't touch my baby.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, how did I forget
Yeah.
that? Don't touch my baby. Big push. The fan loses balance, goes back of the head, cracks the ceramic sink, which is the kind of way people get killed in like bar fights in bathrooms and stuff. Like that is
Yep.
a very violent accident, I guess, if we want to call it that. The crazed fan is cold, drops to the floor like a bag of potatoes, and we see just like kind of like blood spreading. I think as a viewer, we're told that she's dead through that visual. I think.
Totally. Like this is like if she's not very much hurt, she's dead.
Oh God. As Anna is like looking down at the probably dead body, we hear kind of like a cleaner or an attendant come to the door of the bathroom. Like, is anyone in there? Sort of thing. Anna asks them not to come in. The attendant then is like, your category is being announced. You got to get out there. So she has no choice but to just leave the body with blood coming out of its head on the floor. She rushes back out to the table just as her category is being announced. And do you want to give the good news about the Gotham Award?
Well, lo and behold, who wins but Anna?
Fanfare. She's so well deserved.
Well, and
I'm
the
sure
guy
she's
who
right.
announces it, that's Zachary Quinto, and he's in a lot of seasons, and I just love him.
A lot of seasons of this show?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the first and second for sure,
Oh, wow.
and then yeah, a few more, I'm sure.
I should ask about that because I know this show has like a kind of an ensemble cast that oftentimes carries from episode or season to season. Other than him, have you noticed many actors or actresses that were
The
entire
Doctor,
seasons?
Dennis O'Hare, has been in a few, the first for sure, and I think the fourth for sure. I'm sure I'm missing some.
Wow.
And then I think those are the only two that I've noticed so far. And then Emma Roberts, of course.
The casting must be hard because it's like you can't like when you're casting for a role, you will find an actor or actress that fits that role, has the look, has the chops to pull it off, has the right voice for it. But in this case, they need to hire like American Horror Story must only be able to hire like amazing actors like to be able to go from season to season playing different kinds of characters and sometimes in completely different times and everything. Like it's
Totally.
this would
Yeah,
be
it's really cool to see the diversity of roles that some of these actors can like have the ability of playing. It's talent that I only wish I had.
well, you have the talent to sit and enjoy watching it. You know, there's
Oh, better than anyone.
Anna wins her award as we expected her to and as Siobhan expected her to. She's put up on stage to give a little speech, and much like in episode 1 on television, it's very much like a kind of like part 2 of that. Like this episode had a lot of kind of thematic or conceptual kind of callbacks to that prior episode, but she's on stage giving her speech. Much like in her time on her TV show in episode 1, she notices something in the crowd that derails her. In this case, she sees when she gets her award and starts talking, one person is clapping in the room.
And
Only
it's the woman from the bathroom.
Right, it's the woman from the bathroom who should be dead on the floor, and she's sitting at a table near the back of the room with Miss Preacher? Is it Miss Preacher who's at the table with her?
I'm sure that was her.
Okay.
It's
You'll
yeah, she was in kind of like a weird, like
like
maybe old
kind
nurse's outfit.
yeah, with like kind of
No,
it's
or like
some
a
weird
nun
outfit.
outfit.
Yeah, because she had like a hood up with just her face exposed, and she had a lot of makeup on. She just looked freaky. But
Yeah, and I think there was blood coming from her mouth, just like in her dream vision, whatever, when she was getting her embryo transfer.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that, of course, sets her off. But it's not just that. She looks from that table and she's panicking. So she looks over at the table of her friends and she sees. I don't know if I'm getting this right, but it looks like what she saw was Dex kissing Sonia, the kind of artist that he's partnered with that called.
Oh,
Uh,
that's who that was. I couldn't figure it out with the black hair.
yeah, well, it seems like he was kissing Sonia, but then it showed him kissing his deceased wife.
Yes.
So it looked like it was both of them, and I think that's what it was. Anyway, it happened pretty fast. As that happens, the camera cuts back onto the stage. We see Anna in front of a crowded house begin to puke vitamin B12 again.
Uh, it's got like I didn't think that was vitamin B. That was much too dark. I think it was just straight up blood.
Every time she puked it up, it looked more and more blood-like. And having a
Yeah.
white dress on, it only
Oh,
made it worse. So she pukes and falls to the ground. Actually, I'm pretty sure it went to commercial from there. Or at least if you watch it on TV, it probably went to commercial. I'm watching it
I think
streaming.
so.
Yeah, but that would be a good spot for a commercial break. But regardless, we come back to where we pick up the story. Anna wakes up. She's with paramedics, and I believe they have her right in the doorway to the bathroom that she was in earlier. So that she's expecting, a dead body on the ground again. When she comes to in the bathroom, or outside of the bathroom, she's asking the paramedics about, is there a woman in there? Where's the lady? And there's just nobody in there. So
No.
something was imagined. Whatever happened in the bathroom with pushing the crazed fan had some kind of supernatural element or imaginary or imagined element. She's either lost her mind or she's straight up fighting witches.
That's right. Yeah. And yeah, this scene is just so weird. How she like does not consent to be given anything, and both the paramedic and her husband were like, it's fine.
What were they
Which
giving
you
her? Just some kind of drug to calm her?
just a sedative. But still she was like, I'm pregnant, I don't want anything. And Dex was like, oh no, it's okay. Like you'd think he'd be a little bit more worried too.
Well,
But
he would also want to calm her, like, because for the health of the baby and the pregnancy,
that's
like,
true.
she needs to calm down. So I could see that. You just need to chill. I trust the paramedic to give you something that, like, what is more damaging for the baby? You having like a nervous breakdown on the floor here, or taking a sedative.
True.
Yeah, I could see it, but at the same time, it is an unusual thing, or just an unsettling thing to see play out.
Yeah. She seems to, I feel like she's just like constantly brushed off by not only her husband, but like people of authority,
Yeah,
the investigators, the paramedics.
yeah. Remember
Yeah.
that in episode 1 at the clinic when the Doctor Hill, I think is his name, he was addressing Dex a lot instead of her.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's just kind of like a pawn in this whole thing, it seems, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's going to come of this eventually. After this whole situation with the paramedic, we are now back at Anna's house, and I think this is the scene you hinted to at the beginning of our talk tonight. Is we wake Anna's in bed with Siobhan, and Siobhan is comforter singing "Rockabye Baby."
Yeah. Rockabye Baby, on the treetop,
Okay, when
you know?
oh yes, that whole thing.
Yeah. And
Which
once
is
again, not off key. It wasn't awful to
beautiful
listen
voice.
to.
That song is very dark if you listen to it. So I wonder if that was
Yes.
chosen for that reason. That is probably calling, like, foreshadowing for something. Siobhan's advice for Anna is like, let the news cycle do its thing. You know, you puked on stage at an award show. Let's let this pass. You know, don't look at the news. We're going to be able to spin it.
Well, and actually, you just said when we were talking about the Marilyn Monroe dress debacle, you were like, yeah, people are mad for like 25 minutes. Siobhan says people only obsess over stories for 7 minutes and they'll
So,
move on to something else.
yeah.
So,
And it's so
yeah.
true.
Oh, totally.
Everyone just will need to tweet about it once and maybe reply to a tweet about it once, and then they can all move on to like their next tweet.
Yeah.
That's the
And
news
she
cycle
said,
at this time.
what else did she say? I didn't understand this reference. She said, play the wild card as in Olivia Wilde and not address it at all, and then gaslight the people that address it. So I was like, I have no idea what that means.
I don't know the Olivia Wilde
Yeah. I'm like,
reference,
oh,
but I do get the idea of like gaslighting the people. You know, just the spin you can put on anything. It seems like everything that we see from a celebrity is some kind of promotion or spin, and you know, a publicist, that would be their language and their, you know, the
yeah,
world they live in. It's like, how do I spin this to get out of trouble and make it, you know, to get something out of this.
totally.
So to get Anna out of the stressful environment and everything she's dealing with, she wants to have a little break. What they do is they go to Talia's house.
One of Talia's houses.
One of Talia's houses. Talia is a friend of Dex and was like the BFF of Dex's now deceased ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or what, ex-wife, I think. They go to one of Talia's houses, and I didn't really like this. Kind of happened suddenly. I was kind of like, where are they? What are they doing? I didn't really hear an explanation as to why they're going there. Was it just to get out of stress or to get her mind off of stuff, or
To hide.
to hide
They
out?
were, yeah, because when they were leaving the apartment after the scene with Siobhan, there's like reporters everywhere and paparazzi, and they kind of weren't being left alone. So yeah, I think they went, and I believe this house is in the Hamptons.
Mhm.
So maybe they're in New York.
Mhm.
Regardless. So yeah, so they go to kind of hide. And at one point, Anna says, "Isn't it funny that we came to hide and we're in a literal glass house?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a beautiful house.
It is. It's a nice shack.
But it might have been a glass house, but they did have an actual security guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Kamal.
yeah, Kamal was his name, and I think Talia said like he may look like a model playing a security guard, but he's actually a security guard. He's just really good looking. I thought that was like a funny thing to stick on him.
And she said, "This isn't sexual harassment. I'm a lesbian."
Yeah, well, security guards in the house. They got the place to themselves. What do they do? But Anna and Dex decide to make some supper together. And I think the first kind of unsettling thing that happens there is at one point she gets up to get a fork or a knife or something, and inside the drawer there's the little plastic tray that would have all the forks and knives. She sees like the corner of a picture sticking out from under it, and when she pulls the picture out, it's a picture, I believe, of Talia, Dex, his deceased ex-wife, and there's someone else in the photo, but I couldn't place who the other person was.
I couldn't either. I only have to assume it was maybe a girlfriend or an ex-girlfriend of Talia.
Maybe, yeah. Or if Talia has a. In the first episode, we did see Talia with another woman. Maybe that's her
At the
partner.
dinner, I was one. Yeah, I wonder if that's the same woman. But regardless,
You know what? It probably makes sense that that's what it is, because I learned in this episode it said Talia says I'm a lesbian, so it would make sense that what we saw in the prior episode was like a double date.
yeah.
So that's who it must be. I'm gonna go with a fact. That's a fact. That's definitely who it was. Next
But
scene.
weird place for a photo.
Yeah, very handy. There's nothing else in there. It's a bunch of forks, knives, spoons, and this photo from a couple years back. Yeah, weird. So we now jump ahead to nighttime at Talia's place. They're going to sleep. Well, Dex is asleep, I think, when the scene starts. He's asleep in the bed. Anna's laying next to him, completely wide awake. She like he's snoozing and comfy looking, and she's just wide eyed and just laying there still. Like she does not look like she's gonna have a good sleep tonight. And as she's laying there, restless, she hears an odd sound. It's kind of like I listened very carefully to see if it was words, but it was just a kind of like it's kind of like a whispering sound, is what she sees. She gets out of bed and goes to investigate, calling upon the support of Kamal, the handsome security guard. They think it's coming from the basement. And they go down to the basement. And I'm thinking, this is about to get wild. But
Ugh. I wouldn't even have gotten out of bed. I would have been like, it's
Kamal,
nothing.
Kamal.
Right. Call him from my room. Yeah.
Text Kamal.
Can you investigate this?
Yeah, I heard something. Shoot whatever it is. Let me know when it's dead. I've had a week.
Pretty much.
Yeah. They go to the basement, her and Kamal. They don't find anything. So I guess to get her mind off of that and maybe to help her calm down, she decides to do yoga.
The next day, not right.
Is it the next? Okay, I couldn't tell if it was the next day or like in a lit room. So it's the next day
okay.
she's doing yoga.
Yeah. And it's a super quick scene, but she starts like feeling back pain during one of the stretches.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Who was helping her? Was it Ty or was it Kamal there? Like who was instructing the yoga?
I think it was just a yoga instructor. A regular, no one really like super important to the plot.
Okay. She's doing yoga. She feels back pain or something. Kamal catches wind of it.
Well, he drove her.
Okay, yeah. She decides I'm going to go
because they were driving back or driving somewhere afterwards.
Okay, after this, yes. Okay, I'm forgetting the way this ramped up. So she noticed the pain during yoga, then she's in the car with Kamal, going somewhere, and the pain starts to come back.
And she's like, you can tell she's in like a lot of pain in the back. And he's like, "Are you okay?"
And I don't want to talk about this scene. You can tell this story.
Yeah, this is one of the parts I was like, "Oh my God." So she's like breathing heavily and clearly in a lot of pain. And she like reaches down to like the inside, not inside her pants, but like the inside of her legs of her pants. And they're like covered with blood. And then so much blood that she gets it on her hands. And then Kamal sees and is like, "Oh my God, I'm taking you to the hospital."
Yeah.
So clearly something is not right. Something has gone awry.
Mm-hmm. Obviously needs to get to the hospital. He does the right thing. He takes her there, and much like the positive stuff I had to say about the scene at the Gotham Awards, this whole thing at the hospital was also some incredible TV that I was on the edge of my seat for, and it was very unsettling and eerie and spooky. She's at the hospital. My first thing I notice about her when we get a look at her in like a hospital bed is her pimples looking a whole lot worse. That's
what I noticed. Yes.
It slowly grew throughout the episode. I don't know what is that pimple like a barometer for she's just unwell, or are we going to know more about it? But it's clear that we're supposed to see that the pimple is now like large and kind of crusty and looking maybe even a little infected.
It's not going away.
No. We meet the nurse Ivy, who is played by Cara Delevingne, who is certainly going to be a big part in the show because she's one of the few names in the opening credits that get a name on screen. So Ivy, the nurse, takes her vitals and offers her an ultrasound. I think she's taking her vitals. You know more about medical stuff. Is there anything that stands out about what Ivy's doing?
I think they took them before Ivy got in there because she's like, "Yeah, your blood pressure's fine, your temperature's normal." But Anna also tries to call Dex right before Ivy gets into the room, and it goes straight to voicemail. So his phone's not even on. Yeah, but yeah, so vitals were taken, everything looks fine, and then she asks for her permission to perform an ultrasound.
I would call it an invasive ultrasound. I've never... Whatever she does to her is not the kind of ultrasound that I've seen.
I don't understand, because this is it's called an internal ultrasound, and it's what they did at the clinic too. And I'm like, why?
Hmm.
Why are we? I've like I know about those.
Okay, so it is a
Some
thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, internal ultrasounds are a thing. I haven't gotten one with this pregnancy. I know that they can just like see better different things. I don't know. But I'm just like, and she asked her how far along she is. She says 12 weeks. I'm like, yeah, you can do a normal ultrasound. Thanks,
Hmm.
though. Why do we
Typically,
keep doing this kind?
yeah. So typically, an ultrasound would be like they're holding something up to the belly of the pregnant woman and getting a look at what's going on inside. What she's using is like a kind of like a rod sort of thing, I guess, doing an internal ultrasound. Um,
Ugh.
in the way she does it, she's very casual, kind of looking a little rough. Anna doesn't seem to be very comfortable with the whole thing, and this scene is really troubling. Is after she removes the ultrasound device from Anna and sticks it on like her little tray, like the camera kind of lingers on it for a second, and it's all like bloody, and it's just very like
Unsettling.
unsettling. I did not feel good, and whatever they were trying to do to me, the filmmaker, they did it because I was like,
Bravo.
yeah, twisting and turning on a couch. I stopped eating chips this whole scene. It
Because
was
like
that bad.
the first ultrasound that she got at the clinic was the same kind, but like
I
they're
didn't
not
notice it then.
yeah, they're not supposed to hurt, obviously. Like they're not pleasant, they're not comfortable. But the one the nurse performs, she seems especially uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, so ugh,
And
that's one of the parts I was just like, ugh,
yeah, and
can
just
we not do this?
and even just the like Cara Delevingne's character Ivy, even just the look of her, like Cara Delevingne is like a model as far as I know, but
Mhm.
the way she looked on screen, she looked greasy and a little dirty and sketchy, and
And not friendly. She was not very pleasant.
no, she just
No,
came across as like, ooh, I got the bad nurse. I
very
should,
cold. Yeah.
yeah, very cold. Um, as she's after she does the ultrasound, Ivy's looking at the screen and Anna wants to see it. Like, can I see, whatever the video, the photos, whatever. The nurse won't show her. Yeah, it's like, oh, I like you need to be quiet. Like, I need silence while I do whatever I'm doing here. And then Ivy, the nurse, says something like, "Once I got to get a doctor." And I
Yeah.
feel like that's not what you want to hear when you're getting an ultrasound with the
That's
technician to
correct.
say that. Yeah.
Well, and she asked, she's like, "Do you see a heartbeat?" And she's like, "I need quiet." And then yeah, says, "I'm gonna go find a doctor." Like those aren't good. Those aren't good answers. So, ugh.
Yeah. Ivy leaves, and why don't you walk us through what goes on after this? Because this is another brutal scene.
Yeah. So I don't know how long it's been, but eventually Anna gets up and walks to the next room, which is a bathroom. But you can see that she is heavily bleeding.
Mhm.
She bleeds all the way to the bathroom. You can see it on the floor. She sits down on the toilet. Obviously, she knows something is not right, and she starts crying. Eventually, she stands up, looks in the toilet, and just like breaks down. So you can only assume she miscarried into the toilet. And yeah, so she just kind of sits on the floor, gown covered in blood, toilet covered in blood, and the music they use reminds me a lot of the music from Requiem for a Dream.
Mm.
If have you ever seen that
Oh
movie?
my God, yeah, I've seen it a few
Oh,
times.
good.
And now that you mention it, the show does have a lot of kind of like visual comparisons as well, like visual kind of similarities to that movie.
Yeah. And yeah, just like the string music they use. I'm like, this sounds eerily similar to Requiem for a Dream. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so she's in the bathroom. She just miscarried, but then she must have passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes to back on the hospital bed. Dex is there and a doctor is there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she says like I lost my baby. And the doctor says like, I'm so sorry. This is like, it's not your fault. All like almost all miscarriages are just a fluke, pretty much.
Mhm.
She asked Dex where he was, and he says he was napping with his phone off.
Oh my gosh, you're pissed at your husband because of what Dex did.
Yes.
My wife gets
Yes,
like
I
that.
am.
It's like someone will like do something shitty in a movie or something. She's like mad at me because I too am a man. Um,
Yes, you collectively are all guilty
mhm,
by association.
yeah, yeah. Dex was not earning many points with that. She asks, uh, she wants to know the sex of the baby, and I thought that was
Yeah.
odd. She's asking like what was the sex? Like,
And they said you can tell that early with blood tests, I guess. And they said there was a presence of Y chromosomes, so it was a boy.
but
But
what?
oh, and
Why did they? Why, I was wondering though why she was asking. I guess she just wanted to know.
yeah,
Just
I
wonder if it meant anything because it was just like a moment.
well, I'm trying to we kind of glossed over between her passing out on the bathroom floor and coming to. There's just a short little scene of it's obviously a dream or hallucination or whatever, but Anna is in like a field of,
Mm-hmm.
I think, flowers holding a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can hear Siobhan singing the entirety of Rockabye Baby.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And what are what's the last line? Uh oh, and down comes the baby, cradle and all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, is that like a does that mean something?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause,
Just
but
yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of a weird scene,
Okay.
ominous scene.
Yeah. They tell her it's a boy, and we now get the big like cliffhanger ending where
Oh,
she's asked to take an ultrasound, and she's like,
yeah,
"I third fucking ultrasound of this episode." I think is what she
yeah.
says. What
She's
I
like,
would have said
I've already had an ultrasound done, and
literally an hour ago.
the doctor said, oh, Dr. Hill sent me all of your stuff, but she's like, no, no, like, Nurse Ivy just gave me an ultrasound when I got here, and the doctor was like, what did she look like? And she kind of describes her, and the doctor says, this is a small community hospital, and there's no nurse by the name of Ivy here. And then the credits roll, and I was like, no, I can't wait another week.
That's a great way to end it, though. But whatever's going on with Ivy, of course, she's in the middle of it.
Oh,
Who do you think? Whatever's going on, we don't know what's going on, but who's involved in it at this point? I think Siobhan. This whole B12 thing.
yeah.
She was a little sus in episode one. The B12 tells me she's into this.
I think Siobhan and Dexter are in it somehow together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna predict that they met at the fertility clinic. Um, I think Dexter lied to Anna, and maybe his wife had issues, his ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe they met at the fertility clinic. I think it's gonna come out that Dexter had something to do with his ex-wife's death.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, Siobhan's definitely in on it, and I don't know what I think about Ivy and how she plays into all this.
Mm-hmm. And when we say who's in on it, we don't know what's going on. So some of these people could be good people, could be bad people. They could be working together or against each other.
Right.
But the people involved in it are certainly like Ivy has a role in it. Siobhan and Dex. Dr. Hill is not just an IVF clinic
I was
doctor.
just gonna say, I think, yeah, Dr. Hill's on Dex's side for this,
Yeah.
and they're brewing something up
Yeah. And Miss Preacher is in on it. The
somehow.
somehow
But
the
and I said last recap that I think whoever this intruder was might be working for Anna's side and trying to warn her, deter her away from reproducing. I don't know.
maybe not from
But
reproducing, but maybe from reproducing with Dex and Dr. Hill's clinic.
yes,
Because that's
yeah,
whatever this evil is coming through the clinic, I feel.
definitely. Oh yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. There's going to be lots of twists and turns, so
Yeah, but
you
it's
never know.
it way exceeding my expectations. I was kind of thinking like I'm not I probably ain't gonna be crazy with this show, but like I'll be able to chat it out with Madeline. That'll be fun. No, I'm loving it.
Oh, good.
When
Yeah, it's just they're so well written. I don't understand how these writers' brains work.
Yeah, well written, beautiful to look at. Like the
Hmm.
composition, the shots are. I find the show gorgeous. The music's great. The actors and the performances are all amazing.
Yeah.
And at this point, the writing, yeah, like I'm
Oh,
on the edge of my seat. There was two scenes in this episode that got me: the Gotham Awards, and the second scene, and the second, the whole Ivy stuff. That was some powerful stuff. But we'll
well,
see
and
where
that's
it
like
goes.
every, not even just women. That is any person's nightmare is having someone like be a sham medical professional and work on you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that's just terrifying.
I don't do. I don't imagine you see a lot of miscarriages on TV. Is that controversial? I was kind
Mm.
of surprised to see that.
Well, and if miscarriage does happen in the plot line, it's mostly just implied,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't like see it like this.
Mm-hmm.
But even, I watched the title, or not the title, the like the theme again, the opening like theme song. And the more I watch it, the more things I pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also wild. Like you mentioned the nursing baby with the talons.
Mm-hmm.
And like I noticed today that there's just like a split-second scene of a placenta just like falling onto like, I don't know, a plate or something. And then yeah, it's just like every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is just gets better and better.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like a lot of the symbol, the imagery is spiders. I wonder if we talked a little
I
bit about that
know.
last week. Well, I wonder if that's going to come into play. But
It's got to,
yeah,
but we'll see.
yeah. Either way, I'm
Oh, I can't
excited.
wait.
I was pumped when I saw episode 2 hit my feed when I was ready to watch the show. It's like I messaged you right away. It's like let's do this. Um,
Yeah.
so let's see what part 3 brings. I think. I expected Anna's pregnancy to take and that to be a thread that flows throughout the season, but we're now
Yes.
on going into episode 3 and she is no longer pregnant. So I think
And
what
she was 12 weeks along. Like that's
mhm,
3 months.
mhm.
So
So
what's
uh,
gonna happen?
yeah, cuz and it's not like she can get pregnant again a couple days. Is it not after a miscarriage it takes some time before your body starts like making eggs and all this stuff again? I don't know. I'm an idiot, keep in
Um,
mind.
no, I think it's the opposite actually. If you miscarry, like, and it depends how far along you are when you miscarry. But like as soon as you get pregnant once, you're very susceptible, for lack of a better word, to get pregnant again very quickly.
Hmm.
Um, but if you're doing IVF, that takes time.
Yeah, good point.
Like I'm kind of just talking from like a natural standpoint.
Oh, and
If
actually
you,
yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, Dr. Hill had several embryos, so it's not, he wouldn't have put like 3 in her, would he?
I
Like,
think, yeah, well, that's why when
oh,
you
that's
do
right.
IVF, you've got a really high chance of multiples.
Yes, okay, that makes sense. Okay, just
Yeah.
for a second, I was thinking, does he have 2 more at the lab, and he can, the next day it can be back on?
But he very well could have.
Yeah, who knows? This guy's a
Yeah,
freak. Um,
that's right.
but what I'm wondering is, like, in episode 3, are we gonna? Is Anna gonna decide if she's gonna have another baby? If she's gonna do it, unlike them, like going against the wishes of the intruder who wrote "Don't do it, Anna."
Ugh. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
yeah.
It's hard to say. Well, I think we're gonna get really into um it's gonna be like a how badly do you want this baby? Do you want this baby as much as you want this career? We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get into what do you want more, I think.
Hmm.
And she's gonna want to have her cake and eat it too. And she's gonna be like, I can do both.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Me
Well,
too.
let's wrap this up. We'll chat out episode 3 and this time next week.
Sounds good to me.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.